Everyone, and welcome to another mini seminar on behalf of Spiritualism New Zealand. My name is Kim Chamberlain, and today we have the great pleasure of having with us Jan Nalder, who is from Wellington. And her topic is a very interesting topic, and it's living spiritually in old age. Welcome, Jan. It's really good to have you here.
Morning, Kim. Nice to be here.
Right. I have a number of questions to ask you. The first one being, aging is mandatory, but being old is optional. Tell us about being a bit older and being spiritual.
Well, I think it's fair enough to count me as elderly. I think it's fair enough to count me as elderly. When I was a sweet young thing, I would have certainly considered 80-something to be a great age, something to be remarked on, to be marvelled at. And now I am 80-something. I wonder about that and how it happened so rapidly. I feel as full of satiable curiosity as the elephant's child ever did. I set up each day the night before. I live each day with anticipation. Life's full of activity. Life's full of interest. I don't feel old. Change, growth, and development still ongoing. But the question in this topic is, does that constitute living spiritually? What is living spiritually? It surprises me that people seem to look to me as an example of an old person living spiritually.
Jan, you're quite amazing in what you do. You really are. I remember a couple of years ago telling us you were on the roof painting it.
Clearing gutters.
All right, so you attend a number of spiritually orientated groups and workshops, and you are a trained kinesiologist with a reputation for effective healing. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Oh, true enough. I've attended the Spiritual Development Circle with Spirit Wings since 2016. I'm involved as a medium in a trance group and Team Miracles, and I hang out with Phoenix, who are a group of mediums who share interesting study topics. I confidently enjoy working with spirit despite not being in the happy position of being a clairvoyant or a clair anything else, unless I'm some version of clairsentient. I can feel energy when working off body. I envy people who are endowed with the other abilities, though. Nonetheless, I know that I am connected with beings in spirit beyond any shadow of doubt, and that's a fact, not a belief.
That's very interesting. So, can you give us an example of that? Why you feel that you're working hand in hand with spirit?
Well, it might be indiscreet to tell tales about human healing, so I'll tell you about a racehorse. Happened a long time ago when I was just learning this stuff. Yeah, it can be learned. Interesting, isn't it? You're not
Hmm.
necessarily born with it. I think, Kim, you were, and you come from a family who is, but I'm not. Well, anyway, this racehorse belonged to a workmate who bemoaned the fact that the mare had raced on a hard track, ended up with shin splints, and was now miserably trailing an old girl around the paddock with her chin on its rump. She'd be a good 6 weeks, turned out. It being a Friday, work was light, and I borrowed an etheric double of the racehorse to work on, right there in my office, feeling my way around an invisible horse, applying healing in order to give it relief.
Wow.
Come Monday, I was greeted with, "What did you do with my horse?" Boy, did I cringe. Oops, you should always ask permission. Anyway, the mare was now her usual bumptious self bouncing around the paddock. Now, many people would count that experience as spiritual, but I think it's simply paranormal.
Okay. So, do you work distantly then?
Yeah, that's convenient. I can pick my time. Of course, I do family pets at home as need arises. Mostly they stay pretty well, though, of course, they all come to the end too soon. Let me tell you about a cat I contacted distantly. It was dying. It was not in its right senses. Going out in drenching rain to hide under the rosebush, failing to know where its food was, and so on. The husband was of the opinion that the cat should be allowed to go and die as it pleased. The wife couldn't tolerate nature taking its part and wanted it euthanized. I had a conversation with the cat distantly, and it found a compromise. It would die when it wanted to. It was allowed to do so in the spare room, which was out of bounds. They made it comfortable in the bedroom, and there it was allowed to pass away in its own good time. And yes, they both paid me for that balance. Now, that experience I do count as spiritual because I definitely invoked assistance from spirit.
Right. Okay. Okay. So is there a border between normal and then spiritual perception?
I think what we could refer to as clear sensory perception is largely a matter of extending one's sensitivity to reading the normal senses. For me, it blurs with spirituality when I don't have a learned fix for some intention. Then I hand the problem over to those in spirit who have skills or interest in the goal we are healing. Healing's a pretty broad term here. One could be working with physical ills, with emotional, educational, mental, spiritual goals are common too. Sometimes you find in work outside people, you heal land or events or situations, for instance. If it's outside my range of experience, I call for backup. Such work seems to need human input, so I simply stay available and in contact with the work until spirit signals done.
Wow. And how do you know when the done is signaled?
Well, being a kinesiologist, I'm inclined to use muscle checking to find out. Or I would arrange to have those in spirit who are on the job to let me know. Often it is finger wagging. Plain English would be nice, but for me it doesn't happen.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Okay. So this is only a short seminar, and I would like to ask you many more questions, but we'll just finish off with tell us about normal daily life then.
Oh, well, I'm fortunate because I remain more or less healthy despite advanced years. It's sensible to appreciate things like the car and appliances, and it's easy to give them a word of thanks. I consciously shine the light when to people when I'm out and about. I deliberately send a loving gaze aimed particularly at ones below my eye level. You know, people in wheelchairs or pushchairs. It's kind of a sport to get a grin back. Dogs and trees get a bit of attention too. Kindness may be as good a measure for spirituality as anything. Being old gives you time to listen and the wisdom to know that you may only have part of the story. That attitude encourages discernment rather than judgment. It's inevitable that elderly folk have come to terms with sadness and joy, disappointment and achievement, sorrow, loss, painful passages in life. Most can sincerely say, I understand. I feel for you. Look, it'll pass. Change is inevitable. And a final thought, being old brings one close to acknowledging one's own mortality. No one wants the body will invariably leave behind to suffer in its last stretch of service. But being spiritually aware brings comfort that I probably have more friends and family over there than I have here, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's the same for all of us, really, isn't it? Thank you, Jan. I really just want to pick up on something you said that like we only have part of the story. And I think that's a really good way to live because, there's so much, isn't it? There's the human stuff, there's the spiritual stuff, there's so much. And if we acknowledge that we know part of the story, I really like that non-judgmental attitude. And also thank you so much, Jan. I mean, I've known you for many years now, must be. Well, we started in the same group and I started in 2013, so it must be many, many years that I've known you. And you just never cease to amaze me every time we talk about something. You explain yet another skill or yet another piece of knowledge or information that you've got. I think we've only really just like touched the surface of your knowledge and wisdom and the abilities that you have. But in this short mini seminar, thank you for sharing so much and thank you for sharing so much of yourself. And you are a true inspiration as we all get that little bit older. Thank you, Jan. And what I will do for anyone who wants to contact Jan is put her email address below the video. So you're very welcome to contact her if you would like to. Wonderful to speak to you, Jan. Thank you so much.
We'll meet again.